Hello everyone and welcome to another Television 2 video. Today with the viewer decks video that I've been talking about that was suggested by someone and I wanted to do that. So yeah, the name does imply a rating, but I'm not actually going to do it. I'm just going to say my thoughts on the divisions on the build. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some decks that you guys have been submitted. So thank you to everyone who has done that. And yeah, just the idea is to, have a look at some different decks and get some new ideas, maybe get some inspiration. Yeah, and then I will quickly share what I think about it. And that's going to be that. Now, there's 4 types of decks that have been submitted. The first one is quick play decks, your regular build, how you would play it. The other one is maybe unusual builds of divisions. That is still your quick play deck. The third one is tournament decks. We don't have that many there, and they're generalized ones, not specific ones. I was hoping for some specific matchups ones, but that didn't happen. And then the last one, of course, very important, are the meme decks. Now, for the meme decks, it's very important. First of all, they're, of course, going to be very interesting. But what's important is you can also cast a vote then in the comments down below this video regarding which of the meme decks is the best one, and the best one I will play either live on stream or in a video that I will upload. Then there's also some people gave names to their meme decks, so if you get one of the, you can also vote for the best or most fitting name to the deck, and this deck will also be played live on stream. And I think with that, we're just going to start right away with the quick play decks. And we start off with Froplord's build of Morskaya. This one I actually, well, I don't know it. I have played against it, so it is familiar to me in some ways. I already like the division, so because it is one of these unique divisions that have some very specific strengths and weaknesses, and just makes for an all-out interesting division in general. So what Froplord says about this division, he gave me some context, is that, or his deck, not the division, is that he kind of, so the way you play it is you kind of rush in with your Osnats, you rely a lot on your Osnats taking up good positions early on, kind of dominating a little bit. I guess the same is probably true for your Maxims and the 52P, the support gun, and then you kind of play red style, so something along those lines. He said, I can't remember, I can't quote it, so let's put it that. But you basically just have to hold on until your armor rise in B phase is phase locked, right? So yeah, and I mean, we see tons of Osnats in the recon that are all pretty good. So we can take a quick look. We have the Snipe Parry in fast transport, then you have the VMF, which I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, no, you can. These things are also 80 kilograms. Yeah, they are coming with a 50 cal, so you don't have these accessible to you anyway. But 80 kilograms an hour is still decent. And I mean, these are just great. These are still good, and these are fantastic too. And just have a lot of rush potential with this, and you have your regular just Osnats for your AT. These guys are actually pretty decent as well. Like seeing them here. They're just we can take another look. Sorry, I rushed a little bit too much. They're just chunky, and I mean, they're single machine gun unit, yeah, but they're chunky, so that is kind of okay, and it's kind of hybridy a little bit. It's not a CQC unit, but it's still with the PPSH, and then you have the SVTs to help out. It still slaps a little bit, so it's not terrible. I think for 20 point, that's actually a good unit. I kind of didn't really consider it to be a decent unit up until I have been beaten by them, by Froplord and the Panzer more recently. So I actually think it's a good unit. And then Strafanik is, of course, a Morskaya after in B phase, and then there's some more Morskaya Beholder, which you also have in A phase. C phase, all these come in with faster transports, of course, the Duke W or something like that. And then armor, of course, in the recon and tank tab is only in B phase. There's nothing exchange. He doesn't vet it. Now, usually I would say this is a bad call, but I actually like it here because you don't have that much armor to begin with. He also brings all the SIS-2s in A phase, because he can't bring any other AT pieces in A phase other than SIS-2s. And you really need it because you don't have armor to begin with. And then, yeah, so this one specifically, he mentioned that this is kind of your emergency button, emergency solution whenever you run into an issue that you really cannot resolve. Otherwise, you use this. And then, yeah, that's quite nice as well, with, of course, the recon fighters, which are pretty efficient in my opinion. And then the IL-2, I'm surprised to see this, another P3, which could also be a rocket plane. I'm not sure which of these is more consistent to me. It always felt like the IL-2 is a bit underwhelming because it's just slow and has to fly over the target, but it's still an IL-2, so I don't know. But yeah, overall, I actually really like the build. I mean, I think it, first of all, it takes, it really uses the strength of the division well. I think there's a sound strategy behind trying to offset the weaknesses. And yeah, it's just well built all around. I mean, regarding like within the limitations that the division imposes on you, right? I'm not really, yeah, I don't think there's anything to complain about in this deck. I really like it a lot. Next up, VDV by Panzer. This is basically his quick play build, but also his tournament build. He just adjusted for the tournaments a little bit, I guess. But yeah, it's an interesting one. I think this is a great example of how you, for some divisions, and I think Morskaya was also a great example for this, for some divisions, you just really have to lean into the strengths and make them work instead of trying to kind of offset the weakness. And I think it is a great example. I mean, we're going to see why in a bit. So, recon tab, he brings a snipe parry for some rush potential, and then he BFAs to the decentralized coach. Pretty good, actually. You could also take the snipe parry in, you can also take another card of these in A phase, which it doesn't do. And at first it might look weird, and that probably wouldn't be wrong to do it differently. But with this, you have, you know, a little bit more aggressive potential with the snipers. Snipers are still actually pretty good in A phase for aggression. So I think that's probably the logic behind it. And like the loadout is one thing, but the radio definitely don't need. You have enough units with radios as is. So I don't think you're really concerned with that. Infantry brings all of this Nikki that he can because they're just so cost efficient, and you have great availability even at double that. So what's that to complain about? And of course, you don't have a lot of range. And see what he does is this: you can take these guys in A, B, and C phase, but you only have two, and then you have the Sturm of Iki in A and B phase, which you can kind of view as a hybrid unit. It's not really the best range unit. But with the DT and you not having range at all, it's basically as good as it's going to get. The Gavardia you also cannot take in C phase anyway. And this is why I really like this, and why I think this is such a great such a great example for this. You could make it so that you have the Descent Nikki in C phase, but that takes a lot of the power in A phase and a lot of the power in B phase. You kind of need it with the Vanguard build. And in C phase, you're probably just holding on for a little bit longer than you should usually have won. Unless you fight up against Maverick, maybe. But so he just leans into these. These are so hard to spot. They have radio trade, very useful. And you can just kind of dig in and hold the CQCRs and just make sure with the rest of your tools that you can kind of hold the rest. That is not what he wrote to me. That's just kind of what I'm trying to show you. So this, I think, is really nice because it's just not worth building this around having long range infantry in Z phase. You just take away too much from the division. So I actually think it's pretty cool that he does it like that. And I think it's a great example of that. And then tank tab, of course, all the goodness. I mean, with Vanguard, you kind of want to take these in A phase. He brings the leader, which is interesting as well. I think you have another card of T-34s. Maybe I'm wrong. You could. Don't know if you have to. But I mean, leaders are always great. And I guess with the Valentine T-34, you don't really need that many T-34 76s. I don't know. Support tab, of course, all the good stuff. So it brings the 50mm double vet, which is interesting because it already shreds at single vet, and it does so even more at double vet. But I guess, truthfully, do you have the micro capacity to micro more than 4 of them? I personally don't. So, that's probably the way to go. AT tab also quite nicely because it just brings all the good tools, right? We have the VC bot, we have the fast sneak, and the fast sneak are just nice as well because they can again disrupt the deployment. I kind of like the Superior PPSH, but I mean they actually do not affect the front line. You have the fast patrol, which doesn't kill tanks. This is the downside to it. But you can still kill medium tanks. You can still kill transport. We have all the nice stuff. And DT already makes it not a little bit more annoying, I feel like, because you can already struggle a little bit more with it. It's just nice all around. And the VC bot, you kind of need that really because you don't have that much AT on your infantry. It's one of the weaknesses, right? But it still works around that nicely with the 45mm and Sys 2 in A phase. And then just for a little bit of holding Sys 3 in B. I think the 85mm also nicely supplements the AT tab, because maybe sometimes you just need it for the AT. It's not ideal, but you might need it. The artillery tab, I actually love this as well, because it brings the smoke off map. This is a little bit memey. Okay, this is a bit memey, but it can actually work out quite nicely, and it can kind of, if you have it available, you might actually start thinking about how you could maybe use it and get creative. And I think this is a very good thing. So just take these kind of things and see what you can do with it, and maybe it actually works out, right? So I think this is actually pretty good to have it in there, even if you may not use it. I know I've seen him using it, so he uses it, but yeah. And then the air tab U2, which is pretty fantastic, of course, because it has bombs, and the IL-2 is kind of, if you want to have a bomber, you take this. And then the IL-2 tank bus, of course, we all know about this, so no need to next. But yeah, pretty nice build by Yapasi. I love that for 100%. Right, and next up is Koenig's build of Task Force Buttler Division. We don't see that often, but apparently he plays it quite a bit in the queue. This build has been tested and won most games according to him, so I think we can trust him with this build. Now he builds it Vanguard, and he said that this is, in his opinion, the best way to play this division, and I would agree that it has good aggressive tools. It does not necessarily have a lot of sustain in all areas. So let's go through it, shall we? So the cavalry scouts, he brings one card in a phase with and one without the half track, because he wants to have the half track, but he also wants to have affordable infantry. And more bazookas is not really a bad thing. Speaking of bazookas, you have tons of them. You also have the Commander d'Afrique in B phase, so you have a lot of options there. Now, what he also pointed out is that he takes both M8s in the recon tab, but none in the tank tab. Reason being that he prefers the one in the recon tab, and he thinks that he should have some for rushing or other uses. Sometimes they can be useful, but he really wants the Stuarts in the tank tab, which makes sense to me. But yeah, I mean, it's in terms of armor in general, you have a lot of light armor to spam around, and this is kind of the meta nowadays. He only has one leader Sherman, and I think I forgot what he wrote. He did comment on that, but I don't remember what he did. I think he just said that he uses them to kill other light armor, like light armor with the Shermans. He doesn't really use it other than that. The regular one, that is. But yeah, I mean, it is very heavy in light armor. You kind of need these to... You can kind of use those as infantry leaders somewhat. Yeah, spamming light armor around everywhere is kind of meta right now, so having Stuarts is really useful. Now, what else is noteworthy? Infantry tab, it is pretty standard. I mean, this is probably the best way to build this infantry tab anyway, so not really much more to add there. It's a nice tab now with the addition of the Group FM. And then as a support tab, we have another thing that we see Koenig sometimes doing, which is taking these guys in A phase, sometimes even over the 50 cal, which we have here as well, because these guys sometimes come in faster transport than these. But here we have both. M8 guys for more light armor to be spammed out. Commander specifically said because he uses these two units, he felt like a commander can be worth it. You also have the artillery leader to kind of make sure that you have some infantry leaders for when you really need it, because of course into the forest you cannot bring the Stuart. These two tabs are basically, it is what it is. I mean, they're not bad. It's just not many ways you can build them. And then the artillery tab, I mean, he holds back quite a bit in artillery, which makes 100% sense because of Vanguard. And then the air tab, he also specifically pointed out that he single vetted this because first of all, he wanted them to be better at dodging AA, so that they have a better chance of coming through. And second thing, which I think is very reasonable to do, and I can absolutely recommend to newer players who have that issue, to prevent himself from buying 3 of them. Because remember, guys, if you overinvest into your Air Force, that can be a problem. So if you know that you can't hold back, it's maybe not the worst idea to just make sure that you can't do that overinvestment and kind of take out some cards. So I could definitely recommend that to you as well. What I'm surprised about is that we don't see the bow fighters. Now, truthfully, he can deal with light armor, he can deal with heavy armor. He could just not deal exceptionally well with heavy armor, but he has some M10s, and I mean, Koenig is able to micro them well enough, I suppose. I myself, for example, would not be, but so it kind of makes sense. This I really do like the deck. The only thing that the only negative point for me personally would be that I personally would want to have the bow fighters in there, because I mean, yeah, I just feel like I want to have them available to deal with things that I cannot deal with otherwise. Also, I'm not sure if you need the Hellcats. I guess you do. I mean, it's combat tested, so he knows what he's doing for sure. But I mean, then again, what else would you have? Would you take? But I just answered that myself. I think the bow fighters is what I would probably want to take. But then you don't have fighters, and the M15s are not exactly the best AAP. So maybe, yeah, maybe you need the Hellcats. I don't know. But I mean, yeah, I do like the deck quite a bit. And I think with that, we go to the next one. Next up, 78 Sturm by Roy. Now, this, he basically says the way he plans on having this division played, or the idea behind this build is to kind of take care of your opponent's armor by all your good tools in the AT tab at all the different ranges and then let your infantry shine. And he's also says that it specifically mentioned that he doesn't even bother to take the light tank in the recon tab because he feels like it is too situational and not really needed. And yeah, so we're going to go through it. The recon tab, just Aufklär. That's basically it. Nice single vet though. Infantry tab, very interesting. He brings a lot of MP44, so he really leans into the unique feature of this division, or one of them. I mean, you can also count all the nice ones as unique feature of this division, but I mean, the Sturmschützen are a special thing of this division. Then you get Begleitpioneer and Begleitgrenadier as well on top of it, which he also brings. And then Seaface, he just has some Sturmschützen to hold things. He also builds it Maverick. I think you can definitely play this balanced or Maverick or whatever you want. Tank tab, just the one A and B phase card. Single vet though, support tab, pretty nice. All the good tools that you kind of need. Machine gun in B phase 2, everything. Or both a nice double vet, which is pretty cool. AT tab actually pretty fantastic mix there, I feel like. Because he brings the Mard, he brings the Nashorn, which are great, of course, is one of the things that this division has going for it. So he really makes use of all the tools that you have at all the ranges, and all of them are cost efficient in a way, right? I mean, the Pack 40, of course, is very. I don't think you have any lighter AT gun other than the very light AT gun, the Panzerbüchse. But I mean, it's still a fantastic tool, and I mean, Marders are cost efficient. Nashorn, if you really have to go up against the heavy tanks, I think it's also very cost efficient actually. Against other targets, of course, he cannot really take a hit, but you have to Marder for that anyway. And he brings 2 cuts of Panzergren, which I think this division needs as well. So pretty nice mix there. I love to see it. AE tab. I mean, it's fantastic. Basically, you have so many choices here, and all of them are good. So potato, yeah, doesn't really. Cannot really do can't actually do much wrong here there. Artillery tab, A-phase Nebelwerf. It's basically kind of a mini off-map that allows you to push. Very, very cool, actually works really well if you're infantry. Love to see that. Then B-phase, of course, he brings more because why wouldn't you? Air tab, pretty classical as well. Although I'm surprised that he brings the BF-19G6 because that's a better option. This is not that good of a blade. And then he brings the nuke bomber with the big bomb below that, so that's pretty cool as well. So yeah, I do actually, I think, I'm going to be honest right here, coming to the judging part, and I've really tried to keep it as short as possible and not as judgy as the minimum amount of judginess. I think it's a bit odd. Let's put it at that, because he actually really leans into the MP44 thing, but the MP44s are just not that good. So I think, maybe more Schützen in A phase and C phase might be maybe a better way. That's at least my opinion. Because I feel like, so the problem with this is, if you build it super MP44 heavy and this is a quick play build, it kind of is very specialized on those few maps where this really matters. And that just limits it a lot for quick plays. I would probably rather take more shits and having it more generally useful while you still have the Sturmschützen, especially in C phase, because yes, you're defending and the Sturmschützen are more of a defensive unit anyway, but it's still not that great. Like the range is just too limited, and this is quite different from the VDV deck where you don't really have good ranged units, so it makes kind of sense to just really lean into that CQC. But here you do actually have good range units, so I don't know, that's kind of what I'm struggling with. Same thing for the recon tank, by the way. For me, it feels like this, you kind of need just to be have more, general playability for quick play, but that's me. I think otherwise it is nicely built. I mean, it is really just this and this that I really disagree with. But I mean, if it works, it works, right? And we continue on with the Axis with 25th Panzergren by Ryan Mion. And this is, I would say, a very good example for how a lot of people build their quick play decks these days if they go balanced. Maybe it's always been like that. I don't know. I guess I also used to do it like that at some point. But it is not super A phase heavy. And instead, you have a little bit more stuff in C phase. And of course, a lot less veterancy that is usually recommended, right? So you really optimize it for the long run. And I think this is a good example of this. So if you're that kind of player that really goes for those super long grindy games, I think this is the deck for you. Ra also said basically get the other party ready and slow roll the enemy on C with the STF 7 infantry. Right, he uses the STF set for these, which is very surprising. It's not actually a normal half drag because it doesn't have any armor. But yeah, I mean, in the infantry tab, you can always see it's a bit more C phase heavy. We don't have a leader in A phase, which is very uncommon, I would say. We don't have that much line infantry in A phase. Still takes 2 CQC though, which is actually pretty nice. You know, recon not vetted unless you have to. I think this one is forced. It is. So that's very typical. Also, I'm surprised in the support tab, no flamers, no machine gun. But I guess he focuses more on these kind of units right here. Of course, T-Tab, nice mix there that he brings. And again, Marlis with single or no vet at all. A-Tab, pretty nice, of course. And then the artillery tab, this is where he really builds it. Balanced heavy, right? He doesn't even take more, it just takes the SK-18 from A-Phase onwards. And then the K35T, which is a fantastic unit, by the way. The 150 is also pretty decent. Nebel, I'm actually surprised I didn't put that into B-Phase. It's also a fantastic tool, of course, and the air tab. I'm a little bit surprised here to see this, actually, considering that he kind of built most of the things very much balanced heavy. But this kind of makes sense, but I feel like if you're so afraid of armor that you want to take these, and they're not bad, I feel like you want to have one in A phase probably. But that's me. That's me. I guess his plan for enemies with a lot of opponents' divisions with a lot of armor is just to spam these guys and kill everything. I don't know. Also surprised to see this. There's the MA410 is good, but there's a better one with a better bomb loadout. By the way, something that's very interesting here that we don't see in a lot of these long Q balanced grind decks is this actually. He actually utilizes veterancy in C phase on his line infantry, and we don't see this very often. It really does make a difference. I think there was a discussion recently on my Discord about this topic, and it really does make a difference. But a lot of times when you go for these super long grind games, people decide not to do it. So I'm surprised to see it here. I guess because he has the Pioneer as well. But I think most people would then probably just not vet this and take the Pioneer anyway. So I'm actually amazed to see it. I actually like it quite a lot. And yeah, I think this is it. I mean, my opinion, I don't like these super grindy balance games anymore. I like the balance grind, but not that kind of grind like in the quick play. So I think that kind of influences my verdict on the division. But I think it's actually pretty well built for what it is meant to be used for. And next up, we do have 6th Airbourne by Stahlbrecher. So time for some Commonwealth. And so one thing I can already see that sticks out to me is a lot of veterancy. So that's definitely interesting. And a lot of infantry for Vanguard, actually. We're going to get into that. So it's once again more of the more unique divisions. So I think we should take the time and go through the tabs real quick. St. Rico, we do have just Pathfinders and various little Johns. No snipers, so you could take them for some more rush potential. In the tab, we have the air landing. A lot of air landing spam, actually. The air landing is really not good. Yeah. They have radar trade, which is annoying, and do you have a Piat, and you don't have many Piats in here. So it's basically glorified Piat team is how I see it. With radar trade, that is annoying because it affects the front line. And then you have the AB Paras, which are great. Oxen Bucks and AB Canadian Paras, of course. Nice little CQC units, and then the AB Engineers and Piats in B phase, and just rounding up with some Revolt. Tanks are pretty, I mean, this is what you take, right? Tetra, Cromwell, Challenger in this order. The availability, like the phase locking, it doesn't allow you to take it differently. I think you could take more Tetrarchs, but I'm not sure if you really need them, or if you really should focus on that too much. Support tab, even that's the Flamethrower and the Vickers double that. Wow, just a lot more veterans than I would apply to anything. And then the pack, the ABM1A1 does not get veterans. Interesting, but I guess he tries to use that as light AT as well because it has heat shells. And then AT tab is also, I mean, you could debate on whether you need the captured pack 40, but other than that, this is also pretty much how you do it, I would say. The A tab, you also don't have that many options. You kind of have to, you do want to take the triples, it's the best thing in there. It's not bad. It's kind of like a Wrestlersprung. You take it in A phase, play Vanguard, and then go from there. And then the artillery tab, just the sensor. I mean, you could have some 75 mils. You have the 25 pounders and whatnot. But I mean, Centaurs are great, so basically no reason not to do it. And then the air type is quite spammy, of course, with Tempest and Typhoons, but he doesn't actually bring the fighter bombers. And I'm very surprised about that. It just takes the fighters. Interesting. B phase 2. Yeah, I don't know. So now my thoughts. I like all the veterancy. Now, I mean, he has so much infantry, and he has so many of them are double vet. I mean, so that's just incredibly efficient, right? So you definitely do make the most out of your infantry if you do it that way, and you can probably put a lot of pressure onto your opponents. I really do like that. I mean, as I said, I'm not sure if you want to spam out 2 cards of those, or I wouldn't, but I also don't know how to play this division. And I mean, yeah, I don't know. Lots of veterancy. Take them for the Piets for sure, one of them. And I mean, it's yeah, AB Paris great, double vet especially probably. Good double vet here. These two, from my personal taste, are a bit excessive. This is definitely what I don't like. I don't like having these guys with, I would take 1 vet away from each of them and then it'd probably be fitting. And I don't really like the fighters here. I feel like, you know, you can just take the fighter bomber here. You also get 3, you get 2 if you single vetted. It's still super fast, so there's just no reason to take the fighters in my opinion. Because if you buy the fighter, you have a bomb on top of it. If you want the bombs, you still have a fighter. So that's how I see it. But of course, you can do that differently if you like to. That's just my opinion. But yeah, overall, like it quite a bit. I would definitely want to try this in the queue. But now it's time to finish the quick play deck section with 715th infantry by Ra and Myon. Another very interesting build. Definitely not, I would say, the usual how you always see it in the queue. And I think we're gonna right into that. He's again balanced, again well adapted for the grind. But yeah, I think we're gonna have to take a closer look at that. So to recon that, I mean, he takes all the good stuff that you kind of want to have in there, right? So great light armor in A phase, it takes the Decima Exploratory. I personally feel like if you have the points, it's 100% worth fitting the other card in there, but I also don't think I do it in my build because it at some point it's kind of hard to fit it in, but it's a fantastic unit. Love to see that there. Infinite Tab, actually very interesting. So he does a lot of things how you would usually do it, I would say, with the Luftwaffe and A phase, Pioneer, Panzergren 41. But then we have an interesting thing. Of course, it's going to take the Decima. The Decima are great. It's also a nice point. He also specifically says that the idea behind this build, it's not just his build, it's kind of the idea behind the deck, really. You kind of hold out in A phase and then you wait for the Italian good units to arrive. Although you still have some good tools in A phase, by the way, with your light armor and such. But what he does is he doesn't actually take any line infantry unit from B phase onward. He just takes the Decima. You can see that kind of as a hybrid unit, right? I mean, it's actually pretty decent. You have the MG42. It kind of makes it hybrid. It's basically like a bit of a better Jaeger because it has better SMGs. Your Mando. You do have Commando, which helps, but it's basically a Jaeger with Commando for all intents and purposes. If you really look at is what it comes down to. Now, whether this is good or not, I'll leave up to you. Personally, I've never actually tried it like this because I always felt like having some actual dedicated range unit is better. But maybe this is the way to go. So very interesting indeed. He brings another leader, which actually surprising considering he doesn't bring a commander. But okay, I just realized that. So, but yeah, it's definitely an interesting build. I would actually be very curious. It's also interesting that he brings so many Decima in B phase, by the way. So he brings just 1 card of Decima DT in C phase. It's not actually that C phase heavy. It's just incredibly B phase heavy. Do you need all of them in B phase? I don't know. Maybe. But it's a very interesting concept. I would actually really be interested in trying this and see how it goes, because this is not how I see most people building it. So it's very interesting. Tank tab, P40, and Tiger in A phase, Stuk in B phase, and then not Tiger in E. See, I mean, it's, if you want to go balance with this, there's not really many other ways you can do it without completely memeing. Support tab, MG34 15W, I mean, it's fantastic, 20 points, 30 ITU 18. I'm surprised it brings the OB chain B phase, because there are some other things that you could take that are interesting, like Sturm Panzer, for example, commander with how many liters he has. But I know, maybe it's good in B phase. I've never actually tried it. For me, this always feels more like an A phase a tool than a B phase tool. Maybe the same thing in JT tab if you move down there with the Canone 47 mil. It's always, for me, felt like a good A phase tool, but B phase probably not that useful anymore, I feel like. But I mean, you don't really need all the other tools that are in there. You can take more elephants if you really want to, but do you need it? I don't know. A tab, I mean, of course, nice. Pretty usual. Artillery tab, pretty interesting as well. Not really, usually, again, brings the Italian Obice. There's other things that he can take. So I'm surprised to see that. I also haven't seen that a lot in most people's build. Lorraine A phase is probably the way to go, actually pretty, I think, the smartest way of doing it. Personally, I'm just too greedy and I put them in B phase, but I don't think this is the way to go. I think this is actually much, much better. So love to see that. And then the air tab, there's some interesting choices here. He definitely goes for the long C phase plane spam, and I think this is the way to go with this division if you play it on balance. I'm surprised that the C fighters in B phase. For me, it's always, I say this again and again and again, I feel like there's no point in taking fighters in B phase. If you really need them, to take them in A. And you could also take a fighter bomber, by the way. And then you have double valleys. But this is a discussion that you can kind of go in either way, because this thing has more speed, right? So I don't want to impose that opinion on you that the fighter bomber is better. It's just something that I always find interesting to see. And this thing has the light bombs, so it's actually not that good. You actually Spaviera that has big bombs, and this was actually pretty good. So an interesting build. I really actually like these. I like the idea. I would be interested in trying it, because I have always been a bit skeptical about this. I've never considered this to be a serious option, but I don't know. I actually want to try it now, because it looks like it could actually work. And I mean, Commander is pretty good, so I don't know. But yeah, nice one. And I think with that, we are going to go to the special builds. All right, next up, we are going to start with the category of quick play builds that are not your typical way that you might build a division. And we only have, maybe I misremember this and there will be more added, but I think we only have 2 submissions, both by Smokey's neck. The first one is Panzergren Grossdeutschland, and I've actually played against this in the queue. So, and I was surprised by some things. I mean, I think it's actually not, if you really go into it and think about it, it's not that much of an unusual build, with some exceptions though. But I mean, as you will see, there's a lot of light armor from what I've gathered so far, and this is actually really something that you can do with this division and probably should do. That might not be that unexpected, although I do, there are some things that I think are a bit unusual. So let's get to it. So I feel like quite a few, I mean, 2 pandas in A phase, probably more than you would usually bring. And also you have some Aufklär Panzer for the team. These are fantastic. You kind of have to bring them. If you don't, what are you doing with your life? And then Buttler in the artillery tab, because there's no recon there. That makes sense as well. Now the infantry tab is criminally low. Now this, to me, like, just at a quick glance with infantry numbers and how much vet you give and other tools that you have, this looks to me like you win fast or you have lost anyway deck. Because there's just not a lot of sustain. I mean, you have 13 tanks in total. That's not a whole lot. Now it's Maverick, I do get that. But even with Maverick, sometimes you have to hold on and grind it out for quite a while. You do have Marders to compensate, I guess. But still, and your infantry count is just very low. But I guess you have some light armor to kind of make up for that a little bit. But still, it's yeah. this is my first impression. It's just not. I'm gonna be honest here. So, I might dislike it. No, I do dislike it, but that's just because it's not really my style. It's not because I think it's a bad build. So we do have, yeah, look at that, line to double vet 2 cards in A phase. So then you lose out on 4 in total, which can matter. That can definitely make a difference. He brings the Sturm Pioneer in the APCR one half track. Love to see that. Yeah, if you haven't noticed, it's actually pretty cool. You can actually bring it even with the 20 mil. Lots of fun things. Leader with the Drillinger and Pioneer with just a regular half track. Then tank tab, yeah, Panzers, Stücks, and Panzer Force. There's not really much more to it. What else do we have? The support tab. It brings the Gorilla and the Stu 42, which is, I would say, a bit unusual for Maverick. Like for balance, I can kind of see myself doing that. I probably still wouldn't, but just that. Now, AT tab, we have not a lot of AT guns. We have 1 to be precise, and that's just martyrs. But it kind of makes sense. You're lacking some cost-efficient armor to deal with other tanks, so that can help. And then 2 more things that I think are noteworthy is in the utility tab. We don't have ammo in the support tab, so he brings it with the 150, which personally I'm not a huge fan of, because then if you need to resupply your mortar, you have to buy one of these. That's just expensive. And then the air tab is also unusual. So I think it's a 2-point slot, if I'm not mistaken. So you can actually do it, but usually with Grossdeutschland, you put 1 plane in there, and that's it. It's very rare to see 2 cards, so that's definitely a bit unusual. Now, yeah, overall, I always said it. I think I don't really like it because it's just not really my style of division. But I mean, it has a pretty good mix. Like this build, has a good mix of light armor and some other tools, so I have to imagine, and it felt like that when playing against it, it has some pretty hefty punch. So I think it's a nice build. That's just personally not my style. And here's number 2 from Smoking Snack, also this category of unusual builds, and this is 116 Panzer. And this one, I mean, again, not 100% there, but I can kind of see it. So again, a very low infantry number, which I guess just seems to be his kind of thing. Again, we do have a single outflare Panther in A-phase, which I don't think we see very often. Now, A-phase is very weak actually in terms of line infantry, but he brings just a ton of CQC. Yeah, I mean, and then also a lot of CQC in B-phase in one kind of line. So yeah, I think this definitely goes into the unusual category. This is not, I would say this is not, even for this division, I feel like, and I have not that much experience with it, this feels like a very untypical way of actually building this. It's very interesting. The tank that I also just noticed is actually very similar to the one he built in Grossdeutschland, except that he has the Panzer III. And then the one thing that he specifically pointed out here is that he brings the Feldgendarmerie, because you can bring that in the SDKF Z251/9. And this thing is actually pretty good. So yeah, that's the reason to bring it. Could you... no, okay, you can't. I get it. I do get it. But I mean, he doesn't make any use of, you know, these units, which I think would be the classical way of doing it. So it definitely goes into that area of, yeah, this is probably not your usual build. And then same concept for the RT again. Yeah, it's a bit unusual. It's not that unusual. I feel like it's mostly infantry time at the Feldgendarmerie. And other than that, it looks okay. I feel like also most people probably build this tank to have somewhat deeper in a way, maybe take the Panzer IV J as well. But other than that, this looks like a more standard build than I expected from the category 2. But still, I think some surprises there. I would actually be curious to try this out, because the division itself has its strengths, and it looks to be like an interesting combination of CQC infantry combined with tanks and light armor. So I don't know. Would be interesting to try it. I do like it. Cannot say anything else about it. Even though, once again, I would not feel comfortable with those infantry numbers. So this is what I don't like. The rest, I don't know. It looks kind of nice, to be honest. Next up, we go to the tournament builds. Now, the only builds that have been submitted so far were from Emil. There's also the one that we've already seen, VDV from Yapasa. This is a quick play and a tournament game build according to him. And the thing that I just want to point out for tournaments, of course, you have to think a little bit differently because you have the time limit and you don't necessarily need to take your opponent all the way down. It just really depends on who has less tickets by the end of the time limit. So you have to think a little bit differently, which means that it affects your deck building choices a little bit. So, and of course, you're not going to do the long RT grind from balanced versus balanced. That is sometimes having the queue. So let's get into it. Mimil, of course, I think the 20 Panzer, I think, is kind of his favorite division, or at least he's a master on it. So this is for sure. So if you look at this build, this is probably a very, very good build. So we're going to go into that. So Recon is actually pretty standard into the tab. It's also pretty standard. I don't really see any big surprises there. Same for the tank tab. I mean, it's just a classical Panzer 3, Panzer 4, and then the T-34s, more Panzer 4. Support up also pretty standard. I mean, you basically want to take all the tools that we see in here, as it's hard not to take them. And then the AT tab, so this is where he actually made a comment on it, which is that this should be adjusted depending on the matchup, which makes sense. This is not really, right now it's not really well built to deal with light armor, but you could, for example, take this guy or even more Panzergren if needed. You also have the 2K AT gun there, the Pak 43 if you needed. So that makes sense that you would change that accordingly depending on the map and matchup. And then the A-tab, you also said you can build this a bit less greedy. I mean, this is very unusual, I would say. Not a lot of players do it that way. But I mean, both of these shred at double and single that respectively. So you don't want to fly plane in there. You're probably going to lose it. Now, the artillery tab is also a bit unusual, I would say. Most people bring mortars and A phase and then some 2 Buttler and B phase. Now, the Wolfram is fantastic. You absolutely do want to take that. But and I guess then you kind of want to fit the SKT in A phase because otherwise you don't have room for the 81 mil. But still, it's not a very common thing. And that Beobachter, this makes sense because you don't really, this is probably not enough, let's be honest. And then like three recon infantry can be a struggle sometimes. And then the air tab. This is actually something that he commented on when I did my deck building guide, because I used 20th Panzer as a model division there to explain everything. And so basically, I mean, the Geo is fantastic, right? It's super cost efficient. I love to see. I mean, this is a must take, and Mimil knows that. But he also brings the J87, which can feel like a bit redundant, because if you buy these, then the skies will be AA will come out, and then you're not going to get through to J87 anymore. But the problem is, if there's like a lot of 50 cals, these are not going to get through to begin with, and then you can kind of use J87. So love this little thing there. Definitely a lot of thinking behind the building of this. So yeah, what's there to say? I don't know. I like it. I personally could see myself taking this right away and play it in a tournament. I feel like it's so well all round build that you can take this and have success with it in general. It's a relatively classical build with some variations, right? So yeah, I don't know. I like it. Not much more to say there. And here is number 2 of the tournament decks. This is again from Mimil, and we have 97th. Division is actually quite high up in the tier list, but we don't see played very often. And I think it's also really hard to play. I guess we can see that. So Recon Dam is pretty standard. We have some Motors Vetka, which is pretty nice. I mean, it comes in a 50 cal unit, that's why you take it, right? And then the rest of those I actually have to check. It's actually pretty nice. Not sure how many divisions have that. I mean, DT and okay. Anyway, into tab, pretty standard as well. Yugivadius, Tanko, Afto, Strafniki, and whatnot. So and then the tank tab, which is very limited, but I don't know, it doesn't actually look too bad. If T-3045 is named B phase, then these guys in B phase. This will have to do for A phase. I somehow remember that there's less T-3485s. It felt like there's only one card, but I guess I misremember. It doesn't bring the IS-1, which is surprising me. The IS-1 is such a great unit. I guess he decides that it's more worth it to just take the IS-2. I guess that must be it. I don't know. I feel like the IS-1 is too good to pass on. So this is definitely surprising to me. Something that I would probably change. Though then again, you're probably going to bring this on a more long-range map anyways. And then the IS-2 is again very valuable. Support tab, pretty standard. as well. And then the AT tab is the first thing that he mentioned also. Just like for 20th Panzer, this is what you would adjust depending on the division you're facing. Let's actually, but okay, as you have some options with CIS-3s, more M42s and the S-85s. And the 8 tab, you said he would also change according to the matchup. Now, I'm not actually sure what he wants to do with the M17. My guess would be that he wants to use it either against infantry, so light armor support, which is not the most efficient. Like, it's just not that. It's rather expensive for that. But you can use it as cheaper AAPs if you just want to deal with something like the GOs that we just talked about. So that kind of makes sense there. And then, I mean, these you can kind of use as a 2K. Not really sure if he wants them for that. I know that a lot of people use them like that. If it needs to be, I use them for that too. Because this artillery piece are kind of underwhelming. Then, of course, the rocket off map of Doom, air tab, just P2 in A phase. Interesting choice. Not A and B, so that you can buy more in B phase. Just one of each. Very odd choice. I mean, what should I say? Is it well built? Yeah, of course. It's my meal. But do I like it? Not really, but that's more because I don't really like the division, to be honest. I don't know what it is. I just don't like it, but the build is nice. All right, next up, meme decks. Now I'm hoping for some very interesting, very funny, very odd builds right here, and from a first glance, I shall not be disappointed. And we start the meme decks with this build of 4th Canadian by Grim Guy. Now, this is an absolute abomination because you don't bring the recon Germans in this deck, and that's a crime. Like, you have to bring those recon Germans. They are absolutely fantastic. Also, no stewards whatsoever, but we're going to go to that. So the sole theme of this deck, and I love that there's an actual theme behind this, is to get as many 50 cal stewards in there as you can. So this is Steward Reme and the command stewards, and both of them have 50 cals. And as you can see in the recon tab, all the recon units there can be brought in with the Steward Reme, so this is what it's done. Then in the infantry tab, we do have the leader, of course, coming in with the command steward. We do have, of course, the Kangaroo rifles for some more 50 cal transports. Tank tab, just all Shermans and Fireflies. And then in the support tab, we do get the Vickers in the 50 cal half-track. Yes, if you haven't known that, I actually haven't known that for quite a while either, until I saw it in a cast. 4th Canadian does have 50 cal half-tracks, but you have them with the Vickers and not with your motorized rifles, which kind of sucks. And then the AT tab, of course, everything comes in with the Steward Reme as well. And then there's actually this one single double vet 6-pounder, which is there solely for using up the last remaining Steward Reme, because otherwise it wouldn't fit. We do have in the A tab 2 Bofors and BVs as well, with 2 more of those, and that's about it. And then, of course, yeah, Saxon, Long-Tom, air tab, some Typhoons and Marauders. So yeah, what are my thoughts on the division? I said it's an abomination, and I started true to that. You kind of, it's such a weird build, and there's a lot of the strengths in here for Canadian. I mean, especially the recon Sherman set don't really shine through here. A realistic problem here is that you can overwhelm every infantry division probably with all these 50 cals, but they're not fast, so it's not super rushy, and your opponent can kind of set up a little bit. But also, if there's any light armor that can deal with those 50 cal transports, then you're kind of screwed, because you have to rely on Shermans on killing those off. So I feel like if you want to optimize a bit, you might want to take some stewards in there as well, so that you can kind of mix them in between them, so that stewards can deal with the light armor, and the light armor can deal with everything else. But and your 50 cal after can deal with everything else. But I mean, this definitely gets a thumbs up from me. It's not how I would build it, but I did play it on stream once in a modified version. I did some changes. I took some recon Shermans and I think some stewards and whatnot. And it actually kind of worked. So I feel like this is one of those meme divisions that is kind of functional, yeah. Would you want to build this regularly for the queue? Probably not, but you can definitely use it. There's some things that I would change, but overall, I really like the theme. It's really fun. Yeah, love it. And next up, we do have this build of 5th Panzer by Alan. So he didn't actually make this himself. He encountered that in the queue and decided to, copy the deck and give it a try himself, and he actually won with it. He's even sent me a screenshot as proof. So he managed to win a game against it, with it against someone who's actually a little bit experienced. So it's not just stomping a level 1. And this deck is kind of the perfect summary of what is wrong with quick play, in my opinion, if you go balanced, because you end up just against players who build a deck like this, so just optimized for C phase. And the only thing that's surprising me is that it does not go for Juggernaut, because I don't even know how you want to spend all your P phase income or your A phase income in this build. But I mean, if you want to play Slit's Quest all day long, all day long with one game, I think this is probably the build for you. I mean, I don't think I need to summarize. I mean, how are you even gonna... I know that some people in the queue really build that they super weak in A and B phase to kind of go all in C phase, or at least super weak in A phase, but this takes the cake. I mean, there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or we can check. 8 cards for A phase. There's 4 for B. And there's like a ton for C. Like, that's just nuts. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I probably have miscounted, but 19, even if it's not 19, even if it's like 15, that's a crazy amount of cards for C phase. This guy's just not gonna run. I mean, how is it gonna... So as I said, I know that some people really build their A phase quite weak to have more stuff for C phase, but like, how are you even gonna hold in A phase? I have no idea. How are you gonna hold ground with this? And the B phase is the same question. I mean, I don't know. You should get overwhelmed with this, and then just kind of... I mean, you can't make up for that with just RD and playing the Z phase, can you? I mean, apparently you can, but like, how this is functional is a mystery to me. I mean, you have to play super passive against this to allow this to win. But anyway, I mean, this does not get the insignia of approval from Commander Owl. I cannot approve of such a build. I mean, it's a great meme build. So see, I mean, since someone apparently plays in the quick play, I could have put it into the quick play category, but like, I can't put this into normal quick play deck. I also can't this in unusual but functional deck. Like, this is a meme deck. Sorry, I can't put it in another way. But anyway, thanks to a lot for submitting this. I mean, this is something else. And we have another one from Smoking Snag. Now, this one is, as he admitted himself, a meme that, like, the division itself is a meme, so it's maybe a little bit low-hanging fruit, but that's still a fun one. He said that he actually has quite some success in the queue. I think his name in Steel Division is even Korück controller, so I think he knows how to play this well, which I have to imagine that this is why the name is there. And based on my experience when I made my playing Air Division video, yeah, you can win with this in the queue. That's mostly probably because people can't handle the spam well, and especially because people just also can't really deal with Maverick. And I have no idea what this division actually has. And you may underestimating its air force then a little bit. But yeah, I don't think I'm going to spend a lot of time going into all the details, because this is very, very similar to my deck that I played in the Playing Air Division series. I also took some inspiration from here, not going to lie. But some things are definitely different. There's double machine guns here. In that series type, we have the FK, and I have the Nebel there. What else is different? Yeah, its infantry tab is a little bit different, some different units there. He's taking the Ronaschützen, for example, but otherwise it's overall very, very similar. But yeah, I mean, it's so if you actually want to challenge yourself, I feel like this is one of the divisions that is super difficult, but it can kind of work a little bit. If you want to play the bad divisions, if you really want to challenge yourself, this is a good one for it. I can 100% recommend, and it is kind of fun in its own way, even though it's completely trash. Next up, we have Enymion's submission, which is SAS Suffers. I'm not sure, since he writes everything together, if there's also some wordplay there with ass, but which I can see as a fair judgment on this division. Now, I had this discussion with Koenig at some point that it is not that bad, and I do agree. If you know how to play well, it can be not bad. But it's very skill dependent. Now, what we can definitely say is that this is not a good build, but it is a meme build. So, I mean, the tank tab is not phenomenal, but I feel like you usually want to have some options there. I do see a lot of airspan, which is fair enough. So I think we're just going to get into it. And just generally some odd choices at first glance. So, I mean, he builds it Vanguard. I'm not actually sure what you want to play with this division. Probably more of a long range combat. Anyway, so we do have the recon tab. Not actually that much stuff. And I think there are some tools that you could take for sure. I mean, neither of these units are bad. They're both useful. And then in B-phase, just get 2 cavalry scouts with 50 cal half tracks. So, you know, it's not actually that bad. Then the infantry tab. Oh, no, he's bringing... Okay, yeah. This is a meme. He's bringing these guys. The FFE, Frank, Tireur, Partisan. These are just not that good. And we have the group FM. Chasseur, Pas. And then in B-phase, more of those in the rally. No CQC whatsoever. None of the Maquisards, which are actually good. No, just none of that. I mean, these guys are also good, but they're just not CQC. And these guys are CQC, but they're not good. So, yeah, think of that what you want. Also, 60 infantry only. I guess it just spans these around, and that's probably the whole point there. I mean, he still brings these in that traction, which is the way to go. This is also, I guess, is this supposed to be French as well? Traction? I don't know. I'm not sure. Then tank tab just depends for the Jagdpanzer and then the Sherman 76. And Avis, I think you have these guys. You only have these. Yeah, okay. I'll probably still take him, I guess. I mean, it's a meme deck, right? And he probably needs the slots. What else is meme worthy here? I mean, this is not actually. This is all reasonable. This is not meme. I mean, the meme deck still should be functional, right? I mean, the meme part is definitely this right here. This is definitely the meme part. And then, I mean, I'd say this is a bit excessive. So, especially in B phase, which I guess you have to bring in B phase. Since he's playing a Vanguard, he brings 3 in B phase then. That's a bit excessive. It's also a bit meme worthy, I would say. So I think definitely deserves a name from there. And then the air tab, let's look at it. It brings the Lysander. That's a meme on its own. I mean, it is cheaper, so you can bring it. But why would you double the bet? You can also bring this as recon. So I think the judgment of this being meme worthy is well deserved. Let's put it at that. I mean, he brings the Lysander, and I'm sure he will bring that. If he plays that, if you play this, you have to bring it to try and bomb things. I mean, you just have to. It will suck hard, but you will have to. And then the rest is more standard again. I mean, not say that I agree with everything. I mean, these, I wouldn't take them. These I would probably take in areas if I kind of feel like you need them. So I mean, there's things that you can optimize here, but I think that's kind of besides the point because it's a meme deck anyway, so I'm not going to judge you based on that. I mean, it's definitely built to suffer. So I would say name is fitting and meme deck is achieved. I do like the concept. I would not want to play this. Which is not true for some other meme decks, but I would not want to play this. But I think the name checks out, and it is a well-built meme deck, I would say. And the last one is Koenig's build of Guards Armoured. He called it Rouleau, which is for Rouleau Compresseur, which means steamroller. And I can definitely see that because the whole point of this build is to have a 300,000 supply deck and no supplies and support tab. So there's I already love that there's a theme behind that. So this is pretty cool. It's like the 4th Canadian build from Grimguy. There's like a theme to it, and this automatically makes it a fun meme deck, at least to look at. To play is always another story. It kind of starts looking more like your average quick play kind of build, not quick play kind of build that some of these players like Korück would build, but that you can see a lot of in the queue. Kind of goes in the direction like the 5th Panzer one, just not with tanks. So at the recon tab, we do this is pretty okay, actually, a lot of veterancy and whatnot. So this is not actually the meme part. Infantry tab is also not the meme part. This looks pretty standard, I would say. Actually, taking the units to shoot, taking 50 cal half tracks, tank tab. This together with the AT tab kind of works well as well. I mean, this is always debatable, some like, I wouldn't say this is memey. Some players I would know would fill that with Fireflies and Challenges. I know that I would, but Stewards are also really good. So, this is not the meme part. This is also not the meme part. Now, here it starts. This is okay. It's just 17 pounder with 50 cal transport. But this right here, 17 pounder with the Crusader tractor. So that's 15,000 supplies already, times 6. So I'm not going to count it all up. I'm not like doing maths in my head, but we can already say that it is a lot, right? So yeah, there's that. It's actually, no, I'm not going to do it. Screw that. So, and then in the artillery tab, we continue. So A tab is also, I would say this is also pretty decent and standard. And then we go to the artillery tab, which is already, it's already sea phase heavy. But then we have 17 pounders with the Crusader tractor. I'm not sure, could you actually take more for notice all of them? None left. Okay, yeah, no, then it makes it. But you could, if you really wanted to. Oh no, it's just Matador, it's not the supply one. Can you actually bring this? Just want to double check. No, okay, so you actually use up all of them, which is even more impressive. And then we have these guys with the Matador supplies, which is another 15k supplies per transport times 8. So that's an insane amount of ammo. And that's actually, yeah, I mean, you could, if you really want to go all the way, you could also take these guys as well to get even more ammo. But the whole thing is without bringing any supply unit in the support tab, which is pretty amazing. So, and then, I mean, this also looks like steamrolling. No planes in A phase, but then Typhoons for spam in B and C phase. So, I mean, what should I say? This looks like pretty disgusting if you just want to go into the arty grind. This is your I win card, I would say. If you go into the queue and the other guy just wants to do the arty grind as well, because it's hard to compete with that. You're not going to run out of ammo. You have tons of RT. I mean, you could take even more if you really wanted to. So yeah, I mean, what is there to say? I do like it. It's a meme deck, all right, and yeah, as I say, I love that there's a theme to it. So I think this is a worthy end of this video. Now, for 2 or 3 more things that are important. So first of all, you have seen all the meme decks. You can vote which one is the best and which one has the best name to it. And that should be fitting. I mean, you only have 2, but you can vote between those 2, and the best meme deck and the best named meme deck will be played either on stream or in a separate video. So you can do that in the comment, just, write down what you're voting for, and that will be played. Meme decks, okay, and just meme decks, not the other decks. Or in addition to that, a huge shout out to everyone who has submitted decks. I mean, this video is basically all them doing the work, not me. I'm just here talking about those and saying stupid things and sharing my opinion, which you don't actually need to care about. So yeah, thank you very much to all of you who have submitted decks. It was great to see you doing that and taking the time. And for everyone who wants to submit decks in the future as well for this is not going to be the last one. If people continue submitting decks, I will just make another one when we have enough decks gathered. If not, then the series will end with this one or with the next one or whatever, just whenever it stops, basically. Whenever you stop submitting decks, I will stop making the series. And I mean, I guess at some point, there's just not a point. At some point, we have seen a lot of divisions and the differences might not be that big anymore. But yeah, just if you want to submit decks, feel free to do so. And whenever there's enough, I will make another video like this. And yeah, with that, I think, thanks again hope you enjoyed it. I mean, it was definitely interesting and also fun to see all the different ways you guys build your divisions. I hope that some of you might also have learned something or find inspiration for how you want to play a division that you want to play, or how you play a certain division, or maybe you have gotten inspiration for your own meme decks. I would definitely love to hear about that. Just leave a comment about that if you like. And yeah, thanks for watching. Have a great day and see you next time.